Hello. Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming back to Smart City TV. We have today the pleasure to interview Franz Loewenherz. Franz is the principal planner for traffic in the city of Bellevue in the state of Washington, United States. And Franz is one of the pioneers in the use of artificial intelligence for traffic planning. And we are going to discuss a little bit how it works. So to the people that are interested to keep on participating in our channel, please subscribe. And now I invite Franz to introduce himself so we can start having this nice conversation. Franz, please.
Thank you so much, Lorenzo. Great to have the opportunity to share with you some information about the City of Bellevue here in Washington State. And I've had the pleasure of working for the city for a little over 20 years. And I work on a wide range of topics from our Vision Zero road safety program to transit projects to implementing pedestrian and bicycle projects, and also developing partnerships with the public and private sector.
Okay, great. So I remember when I visited Bellevue a couple of years ago, you showed me some details of the project. Maybe you can tell what Vision Zero is a little bit for the people that are listening this for the first time, and then talk about your specific activities, what you're doing to improve the safety of transportation in your city.
Wonderful. Yeah, absolutely. Before I touch on Vision Zero specifically, I just want to acknowledge that the City of Bellevue as an organization, we're committed to, we're a high performance organization. What that means is we're constantly looking for innovative ways to move on our smart city continuum from ad hoc reactive to optimized proactive. And we do that across all of our various lines of business. We do that when it comes to signal operations. We have an adaptive signal control system, which is constantly monitoring movements at intersections. And when you apply that template to Vision Zero road safety, what that implies is we are interested in getting out ahead of crashes before they happen. So we want to move beyond what is a traditional approach to road safety, wherein you rely on police crash reports, which are a lagging indicator. They give you a sense of where people have been injured. And instead, we want to move beyond that reactive approach to one where we can anticipate where we should implement corrective measures. All of that stems from our city's commitment to Vision Zero, which is an international movement, originated in Sweden and Denmark, and has taken root in many countries all over the world. And fundamentally, it aims to stem what is among the top 10 leading causes of death worldwide. Road fatalities represent over 1.3 billion deaths per year worldwide. And so it's a public health crisis, one that the City of Bellevue is committed to, and we are wanting to be more proactive about how to address that issue.
Okay, and how do you do that? I mean, you just have people counting, you have cameras counting. What is the process to use data collection and data analysis?
Yes, so the approach that we're working on is a field called conflict analytics as compared to crash data analysis. So conflict analytics looks at those road user interaction between people driving, walking, bicycling, and looking at leveraging metrics that quantify based on space and time relationships and speed, whether or not there is a high incidence of close calls. You know, we all collectively have that gut reaction when we see two cars coming close to colliding. That surprise reaction, and we all observe that in our daily movement through cities. But it's only now that we can start to quantify those occurrences. Previously, as you observed, it did involve someone standing at a corner and monitoring those kinds of events or just observing video. But that's not a scalable solution in a community. We don't have that capacity to have people out at corners. And thankfully, with the developments of cloud computing, artificial intelligence, specifically deep neural networks, and video-based solutions, can we now start to apply that discipline, conflict analytics, to scale?
Okay, so you have cameras that collect data, you send that information to the cloud, and then you use data analytics, artificial intelligence to get the results.
Yes.
And what results have you got so far? So what has improved in the city related to that studies that you are doing?
Yeah. So Lorenzo, you will remember back in 2016 to 18, we had a partnership with Microsoft. They were ingesting video footage from our existing traffic cameras at our intersections, and we're on a path to developing a platform for conflict analytics, as is typical with large-scale projects. Different developments occur, and there's pivoting of resources. So Bellevue in 2019 ended up creating a new collaboration, one with Transoft Solutions out of Canada, and we were able to secure funding from Together for Safer Roads. And together, that NGO provided the funding whereby Transoft was able to ingest footage from 40 intersections in Bellevue over a 1-week period, documenting over 8.25 million road users. And with that data, that week of data, we were able to look at different road user interactions, where conflicts were occurring, where speeding is occurring. And one thing that I was glad that we were able to do is, once we started to see where there were problems, we implemented some corrective measures. And in some cases, those were really low cost investments, a $10,000 signal head improvement. And what we were able to do is run after analysis, and we were able to demonstrate that limited expenditure yielded a 60+% reduction in conflicts. So what's beautiful about this approach is, oftentimes, because of the rare and random nature of crashes, it often takes 5+ years for problems to materialize, for us to know where to make changes. And then it often takes 1 to 2 years to determine whether or not that intervention yielded a favorable outcome. The beauty of this system is, with 1 week of before data and 1 week of after data, we can compress that assessment period that would otherwise take 5 to 7 years down to several weeks. And that way we end up understanding, are we implementing the kind of improvements that yield favorable outcomes? And we were able to demonstrate that.
So the numbers was an estimated reduction of 60% of conflicts. And yeah, what you call specific of conflict here? It's a crash, it's a near miss, what is the conflict?
Right, so the one that I'm referring to, we observed it was at Northeast 8th and 124th Avenue Northeast. It's an entry point into the Wilburton neighborhood. And what we were observing from the analytics, from the video analytics, was a high incidence of southbound and northbound left turning movements with the opposing through movement. And so, because that was a permissive signal phasing at that location, it meant that people who wanted to make that left turn movement were constantly trying to monitor when was an acceptable gap to make that movement. And unfortunately, there was a high incidence of instances where you had these very high speed through movements having to slow their car down significantly to avoid colliding with those left turn movements. And that's what we were observing with the conflict data. You had vehicles going 36 miles per hour, having to slow down to 20 to avoid that collision. And the analytics generated those results. When we did the signal change, we created a protected phase for that left turn movement. And so now they had their own green phase. They had confidence in knowing that making that turn, the opposing through had a red, so they weren't going to be driving through. And we ran the analytics. We found that, you know, we had speeds reduced and conflicts reduced, and the outcome suggests that going forward, we will not have as many crashes at that location.
And what is the number of cameras that you're using in the city now?
So we have about 200 signalized intersections in the city, and about half of those, over half of those at this time, have 360 high definition cameras. And these are non-proprietary cameras. We're not working with an edge cloud solution, and so they're agnostic in the sense that any cloud provider can VPN into those cameras with the appropriate address and ingest that data. And so we created this partnership wherein Transoft was able to record that footage, process it, and provide us with a dashboard where we could get really granular. So we knew we could look at our entire the 40 intersections and zoom in on a given intersection and look at, for all of the various road user movements there, which ones were the most critical. And that's why in the example provided, we were able to determine it was that left turn movement. And for that matter, we could even zero in on time of day variability. So it gives us a real significant depth of understanding of what's happening at our intersections.
Okay, as far as I remember, Bellevue is a very regular city. So you have square intersections almost the whole city. Does it make any difference for a city that is more, I mean, free design, so the roads have not a straight alignment as you used to have in Bellevue?
Absolutely, yeah. The video analytics, you know, once you go and does take into account the geometry of the intersection, it will look for anomalies in your trajectories. So it is a solution that can be applied to areas that have, say, roundabouts, for example, or diverging diamond intersections, or any number of other intersection design. So it's not limited to Bellevue. Bellevue is particularly well suited to support this collaboration because we had the existing cameras there, and we've made significant investments in our communication system. We have 10 gigabyte network speed, so that we can create that pipeline that the cloud can access that footage rapidly. And so, but that's not to say that other communities couldn't leverage this approach. You can also, even if you don't have the camera infrastructure in place, you can have camera taken out and placed at locations where you don't have that infrastructure. So you could have a video camera placed at a location for a day, a week, and have it analyzed. So that too is an option.
So you don't need to have a permanent camera infrastructure to do that. So you can move specific areas to others just to do the analysis and then take the precautions or the actions that you need to do. Yeah.
That's more typically the case. Bellevue's project is unique because it was the first time a community undertook a network-wide assessment. More often than not, these kinds of analyses are done on a very limited duration, limited location. This was the first time you had 40 intersections for a week, 8.25 million road users, the ability to drill down at the depth that we did. And so we have on our Vision Zero partnerships page 3 technical reports that delve into all of the granularity of the data, and I would encourage your community to take a look at City of Bellevue's Vision Zero partnerships page.
Okay, and tell me, if someone from other city wants to do a project like that, what will be the first step? Who he needs to knock the door to understand what to do or to learn what to do?
Well, I'm happy to be a resource to help offer insights. TransSoft Solutions is one of the companies that specializes in this. There are a number of other companies that also work in this space: Microtraffic, Advanced Mobility Analytics Group, Street Simplified. These are all other video analytics companies that specialize in conflict analytics, and the City of Bellevue has worked with a number of them. In fact, we have a new partnership we're just now getting going with Microsoft and Advanced Mobility Analytics Group and Jacobs Engineering, and we'll be analyzing the efficacy of a safety countermeasure improvement called leading pedestrian intervals at 20 intersections. We'll be doing a before and after period assessment, and then we'll use that insight to determine where do we want to implement that treatment elsewhere. So there are a number of different entities that, depending upon what you want to do, and I'm happy to be a resource.
Okay, great. Franz, another question. Given the fact that the number of smart cars are increasing, so self-driving cars are increasing, do you see that use of artificial intelligence on the vehicle itself will also help to reduce incidents and accidents in cities?
Yeah, absolutely. The company Mobileye, which I believe was acquired by they were acquired by our chip Intel, I think. They are a company that has video analytics on the vehicle itself, but of course, Tesla and other companies are also incorporating video intelligence to inform lane departure warning systems and the proximity of other vehicles. And there's a lot of discussion going on right now in a number of different organizations, including ITS America, Institute of Transportation Engineers, Federal Highway, USDOT, a strong desire to see use of vehicle to everything technology occur, where the vehicle is communicating data to intersections, and the intersections are communicating to vehicles, and collectively we are processing petabytes and petabytes of data that can then make our intersections smarter and safer. So I think it's an exciting time to be in this field of transportation and convergence with AI, cloud computing, and video analytics.
So how far do you think we still are from the point where you can have real vehicle to vehicle and vehicle to infrastructure communication, so we can have a really safer traffic management?
If I had the definitive answer on that, I would be making significant amounts of money on the stock market. There's always projections about when autonomous vehicles will be hitting our roads at a level 5. That fully autonomous mode. Obviously, the media was full of pronouncements that it would be around the corner, and all of us know it's taking longer than anticipated. So it remains to be seen. I think it certainly can't happen soon enough for my book. My son, 15-year-old, is now starting driver's education next week. And I would love for all vehicles to be autonomous today, so that I wouldn't have to worry about
The self-interest.
yes.
Yeah, good. So if a city, if a mayor wants to engage in this project, what else besides technology and money is necessary to move ahead?
So aside from money and I think ultimately there needs to be a cultural commitment to road safety, and a desire to challenge the norm. It ultimately comes from all of technology, and commitments come from a strong commitment, a culture that regards crashes as not inevitable, but preventable events that with sound decision making, we can make measurable difference. And in communities like Oslo last year in Helsinki actually did get to 0 fatalities, remarkably. Even though if you go back to their communities 20 years ago, they had 50 plus fatalities per year. They achieved it because they worked diligently to get there. So ultimately, it really requires what's known in the industry as a safe system-based approach that recognizes that you need leadership, you need culture, you need a shared sense of commitment to make a difference. And thankfully, Bellevue is on that pathway, and more cities are learning from each other. We're all benefiting from the insights that are being generated in Vision Zero, and we're all hopefully on that pathway.
And what about new and disruptive ways of transportation? How do you see that future coming?
I think the term disruptive, sometimes things that are new are actually kind of hearkening back to the past. There's been dramatic, one of the interesting latest developments in transportation during COVID has been the significant number of people who are buying electric bicycles. Interestingly, if you want to buy an e-bike, you have to wait, because the manufacturing is, many months out. So, I mean, it's interesting to observe what is new is kind of a repackaging of what is old in some respects. But I think that part of a safe system approach to Vision Zero includes a commitment to ensuring that regardless of whatever method of transport you might choose, whether it's a scooter or a bicycle or walking, or taking the bus or light rail or driving, that you can get from A to B safely, and you have those options. And so hopefully, communities that have made commitments to walking, biking, transit are also communities that have demonstrated that they make measurable progress as they reduce their fatal serious injury crashes. So I think ultimately it comes from a commitment to good land use decision making and sound multimodal transportation decision making.
So related decision making, how is the model in Bellevue? So it's you have a committee, a commission, it's part of your regular organizational structure, or how is the governance model for that?
We have a city council and a city manager form of government. The mayor is elected among our city council members, and they provide the policy guidance, and then our city manager and his staff execute on that policy framework. And there's extensive community consultation. We have council appointed boards and commissions We have a transportation commission, for example, and they work with staff on assigned topics, and then those topics are brought forward for council consideration and action. And that's how policy gets formulated when it's adopted into our comprehensive plan, and then it's made real through the budget process. This is a very broad brush description of it.
Okay, good. Franz, listen, we will have a lot of questions for you here, but we have a limited time for the interview. I thank you very much your participation on the channel, and you have a few minutes for your final words.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for doing what you're doing with this channel. As mentioned earlier, I am happy to be a resource to your viewers, and welcome the opportunity to provide that insight and the connections to the broader industry. I think we can all collectively benefit when there's that sharing of information. So thank you for being part of this solution.
Okay, thank you very much, our friends. And I also want to thank again our viewers. Please subscribe and see you in our next interview.